I'm Rita Siow, a past executive director of AGDA and also a retired lecturer from TAFE. I was senior lecturer at TAFE in graphic design, and now currently I'm adjunct with the University of South Australia, looking after postgraduate students and undergraduate students as well. There's an early photo of me with my dad, with my permed hair. Never in my life with permed hair, but that was taken with my dad, and he was a soccer player, so he was used to training a lot of young people and being very understanding of all the young boys and girls within the community that wanted to go into sport. And I think it was quite interesting that, you know, he encouraged me to do whatever I wanted. So I think that was a really good start, to have that from young, you know, to be able to do exactly what you think you can do. I was a science student in Singapore, and I guess I excelled very well in the sciences, and so everyone thought I'd be a doctor, which I didn't want to be. But I took art classes with a lot of Chinese-style painters, and there were no real art schools in those days, and a girlfriend of mine was studying at the School of Art here in Adelaide, and I happened to meet her down in the street one day, and she said, "Oh, I'm doing this wonderful art course in Australia." So I asked my mum and dad if I could come, and they said yes. That was it. Yeah, so I applied, and what was great about that was the school had closed all its applications. I was actually too late. So I had applied to go to England as well, which meant waiting another 6 months to do it. And I didn't really want to wait. And so when my girlfriend came back to Australia, she went to see the principal every day at art school and saying, you know, has anyone, called off the application? And I used to write to him every day, just about, a letter saying, you know, I'd like to come, and sending him drawings and things like that. And 3 months later, he wrote to me and said, yeah, someone's dropped out. So persistence, I suppose, was the other thing that got me here. I was doing a lot of work experience with advertising agencies in Singapore. So I would go back every holiday and, you know, do work experience with them, with this agency that happened to be owned by my mother's ex-boss, I think, something like that. And then when I finished, one of the friends that I knew, his father worked for Elders, and there was a job going, so I applied and got it. So after that, there was work at Rigby, which I freelanced for them, a lot of books. And then there was a job with Fortune Advertising, and I worked there for a while. And a job came up at TAFE to be a lecturer after that. And then my career in education expanded from that, yeah, which I truly loved. 1990 or something like that, yeah. I think it was earlier than that I met John Nowland, who was the first president of AGDA, and he asked if I would like to join AGDA and help them to start their awards, which I did, and helped them to establish that. And Andrew Lampontang, I think, became general manager for a little while. And when he left, there was a vacancy, I think, for about a year. So I was asked if I'd like to take over the position. And I was serving at the time on the committee. And that's what happened. Well, I continued with a lot of things that Andrew had established. He established a website. He established a whole lot of business models for the association. And when I took over, I helped to, originally I had already helped to establish the awards, so we expanded on the awards. We certainly included not just the creative categories, but also the design effectiveness categories. and then the student awards as well. Yeah, because students were a big part of the organization, and a lot of the work that was being done with students was also pretty phenomenal, and it was a way of recognizing, what the educators had done with their students, which gave that extra bow, I guess, to the awards as well. And the design effectiveness category was in a way to acknowledge the value of design that had contributed to the client's business. So it was a way of measuring the effectiveness of design that was important. So it wasn't just about the creativity, it wasn't just about the decoration, it was certainly about the business value and a way of measuring that. So that was one great aspect, I thought, of the awards that was, I guess, a culmination of a lot of the committees and the councils thinking as well. So we were able to pull all that together. I guess the big difference is the accessibility of knowledge. In the past, you as a designer had to go and seek out whatever you needed. You'd have to walk, bus, drive to the library. You'd have to physically visit everybody and have a good conversation either on the phone or face to face. And certainly things took a lot more time. But now we've got it at our fingertips almost. It's so much more accessible, the World Wide Web, I guess, and the fact that we can Skype and we can get information and give out information so much more quickly as well, which has its disadvantages as well, because sometimes we need to think a little bit more carefully before we put anything out, because of the speed with which we disseminate information now. We think that it's that instantaneous. So I guess in that sense, with sometimes the overnight test, which was something that we used to practice all the time, it's quite a good thing to keep practicing that, and not sort of succumb to the speed of information and the speed of delivery that we've been put under. So I think that's a big difference, and I guess the expectations of clients now are so much more demanding because of that. They feel that you can do something so much more quickly, and so I guess, and also the fact that they themselves have got access to information. So anybody can be a designer, so they think, and I guess the designer's job today is a lot more complicated. We've got to explain our position a bit more. We've got to stand up for ourselves probably a bit more. We've got to be lot more knowledgeable and a lot more demanding of our clients as well, and negotiate and work together with our clients. So I think that's one of the big differences. The other big difference is because of that accessibility and that ability of other people to understand design and know design, we also have management companies that deliver design as part of their suite of deliverables to their clients. So you'll have management consultants who say they can deliver design, so they will charge for design. And I think designers will need to have business speak and understand and know business a lot more in detail and in depth, I think, to function better as business people. So it's not just about the creativity anymore. In the old days, it was how good it looked and how creative you were. And I think that's the point of difference for creative people, that's going to be that point of difference when you're doing something. And that's something that everybody expects. But to be able to function and to be able to be successful in business, we need to understand and be able to work in business and with business. I love the fact that we should embrace history a lot more. I don't believe that we are spending enough time on history in our education system, especially design history. I think there isn't the time for it, and there should be time devoted to it. This project that you're doing now, I mean, that has a real sense of history. And if you think about it, people like Gordon Andrews, Alex Stitt, they put out their own books about their work to give us a sense of history. So if we don't have history, we don't have those benchmarks, we don't know where we came from, we don't know where we're going. So without our past, in a way, we can't look to the future. So, and we learn from our mistakes. We appreciate our craftsmanship. We understand how we contribute to culture and to commerce. And it's a way of evaluating as well. I think that's so important. I think in other countries, maybe because we don't have that long history, we're a young country. I think when you look at other countries where they've got centuries and centuries, they've got so much to fall back on and so much wealth of knowledge to use. So I guess in a sense we're still very young and we're still learning. I guess one of my big roles with design was through AGDA, certainly being part of AGDA, and I'm so grateful to the people that invited me, to people like Mimo Cozzolino and Trevor Flett and Wayne Rankin and John Nowland and Max Robinson, yeah, all those guys, and they were all guys in those days. But it opened the door for me to meet women designers, So, like Annette Harkes and Miriam Kim Yi and Alison Hewlett, who were big names, very well established designers of the time, and now still. And so that gave me the impetus, I guess, to work harder and to be more involved as well. The fact that they were all contributing so much themselves. So when I got into AGDA, it was about a 500-strong membership, and Andrew Lampotang, who I mentioned earlier, he was general manager, and he started the industry survey on salaries and about the state of the design industry at that time, and really great projects that were happening at that time. So I continued with some of those projects. So we continued with benchmarking surveys to get a sense of how the industry was going, and to give people a barometer of what the industry looked like. And certainly with the awards for creative and design effectiveness, certainly benchmarking that as well. And also we did things like international speaker tours, so it wasn't just about us talking to each other, from state to state, but also talking to our compatriots overseas, so inviting speakers to tour the country, and not just go to Melbourne and Sydney, but to go to all the little cities as well. And so that was kind of broadening the scope of AGDA as well. So it became a truly national organization, and then with an international focus as well, to the point where we actually took our awards to AIGA in New York as well. They invited us, so we were able to show our work twice over there as guests, and being part of the Australian government as well. They helped us to get our design work out there. So those were some of the milestones that we were able to achieve with AGDA. I guess the other thing too is, we're transitioning now from a member-based organization to a more business-focused organization. So that's something that we've had to look at a new structure for AGDA. So I retired when the new structure came in. I was able to help bring that new structure in, and that's been really rewarding in that sense. Other things that was great to do through AGDA as well was I was an educator in TAFE, and I was able to marry the two, bring the educators and the industry together with a lot of projects, and introducing industry speakers to students as well. So, starting the what do you call it, the AGDA mentorship program was a lovely thing to do. And starting the student awards for the AGDA awards was also a great thing to happen for AGDA. Yeah, rewarding thing to happen for AGDA. When you mentioned visibility or being visible, I'd have to say that the first thing I thought of was the Kardashians. So it's like, you're famous for being famous. And it doesn't necessarily mean that what they produce or what someone produces is good or has benefits in the true sense of the word. So I guess for a lot of designers, we do feel that when we're creating something, we're doing good. We hope we're doing good. So it's not just about making something pretty anymore. It is about contributing to society or making a difference to somebody's business, and not just increasing the dollar value, but the appreciation of the product and the usefulness of the product. So I guess being visible, there's that dichotomy, of whether visibility is a good thing or not a good thing because of one's perception of visibility. And that can be a study in itself. Yeah, but I guess there's so many ways of being visible and having good visibility, and I guess nowadays there's so many avenues to being able to become visible. I think visibility has to come with maturation as well. It has to come with a certain longevity, I think. So it's not just a one-hit wonder. It's being consistent in one's delivery, maybe, and being consistently good, I guess, in what one does. And that's not an easy thing. I'm not good at pushing to become visible. And that's partly, I remember now we spoke about that I come from that culture of you can't speak. The really old-fashioned Asian culture, we don't speak at meal times. and you don't talk on top of somebody else, all those things. So it's actually quite hard culturally if you're brought up that way, and you've got to really push yourself to do that. I think I remember that when I was at art school, I didn't speak for a good 3 months. Couldn't speak. Couldn't express my opinion. Yeah, it was really hard to do. Yeah, and doing a life drawing with a nude model was unheard of. I stood behind this guy, and I just drew whatever he drew. I couldn't look at the model. That was quite hilarious. Okay. I think we have our own brand of humour. We have our own brand of looking at things. Yeah, definitely. I think that sense of humour comes through. The fact that we love our open spaces. There's something about our design work that does have a different aesthetic. People akin it to the Californian style, to that sort of openness and free-spirited and almost daring motive behind the work. I think it's starting to express itself. I'm not sure that it's truly mature yet, but we are getting there. I think it's wonderful the way we are progressing with our own aesthetic. I think it's probably something that in our design education system maybe needs to be encouraged more. I don't know that we do. I think we do tend to look elsewhere a lot. And again, it's because we're not studying our own sense of history as deeply as we should. Trust your instincts. Listen to that voice in your head. I think that's not an easy thing to do. We always have the advice of our parents about how we should do things, how we should follow the rules, and not that those things are bad or not good for you, but I do remember that for myself I had to follow my own lead in lots of ways, and to be brave in one's choice, to be individual, to be patient, and to always work with the best people. It doesn't matter if they're more talented or you think they're more talented, but you're just as talented and you've got just as much to contribute and to give. And you're more than an equal, always.